Hey kids, great to see you again. You know, when I was your age, which let's be sure and say was a really long time ago, at school when we were out at recess, we would choose up teams and play a game called kickball. Way fun. I don't know if you play kickball anymore. I don't even know that you have recess anymore, but I know you have fun whatever you're doing. But the biggest part of kickball was picking your team. And I know what it's like to not always be picked first. I'm betting that you sometimes have had the experience of not being picked first. Well, there's a story from the Gospels in Jesus' life where very early when Jesus was just getting started, he went by the Sea of Galilee, a lake really, and there were some men there in some boats, and they were fishermen. But you see, and Jesus said, I pick you. He said, come follow me. I want you on board. Well, I'm wondering if it, like kickball, were you really fast? Were you really strong? Were you really skillful and coordinated? Or maybe Jesus picked those guys because they were really smart. Or they were extra special people. Well, what we know is that for the most part, none of those things were true. They may have been strong because they worked fishing, but they weren't extraordinary. None of them became athletes. They weren't extraordinarily smart, otherwise they wouldn't be fishing by the lake. And you know, when we always picture Jesus coming up and talking to men, may have been, in fact, there's quite a lot of evidence that point towards they may not really have been men the way we talk about men or the way your pictures show men, but they may have been pretty young. We might have even said boys. Now, not all the disciples that Jesus called seem to have those indications, but there's a good chance that at least some of them were. And while there are only a few stories where people said, no, I'm not going to come in the Bible, there are a few. Which makes us think that at least it's a possibility that there were people that Jesus called that said no. I wonder why Jesus chose those, and let's just say it, those boys to come follow him. Well, I'm not sure that it was because they were smart. I'm pretty sure it wasn't because they were great athletes. I'm also really sure that it wasn't because they were the most cooperative and that they all got along with each other, because the Bible kind of tells us a different story than that. What we do know is that all of those people that followed him, and there were probably some fairly young boys, and there were some older men, but there were also women who followed Jesus. What we know is that the people that followed Jesus said yes. On that scene there by the sea, it didn't say yes, quote unquote, but they left their nets and followed him. That's saying yes. When he calls Matthew or Levi, who's the tax collector, who was probably one of the older ones, it says Matthew left his tax booth, left his place there and followed Jesus. He said yes. I'm curious. Do you think that Jesus can't use you because you're not smart enough? Maybe you're not good looking enough. I know I'm not. Or maybe you're not charismatic enough, or people, follow you naturally. I don't know. But it seems to me that what the Bible says is that when Jesus says, come follow me, all we need to do, we don't need any qualification, all we need to do is say yes. And not only say yes with our mouths, but say yes with our lives. Leave some stuff of this world behind to follow Jesus into what he wants us to do. So, sometimes we say, who, me? You want me? And Jesus every single time says, yes, I want you. So I invite you, and I'm calling myself. Let's say yes with our mouths. But even more, let's say yes with our lives. And it's always amazing to me how sometimes we think that it's the adults or the older people that need to lead the way on saying yes to Jesus. But what the Bible says pretty often is it's the younger people who go run into His arms, and they show us older folks the way to do it. Thanks for being people, boys and girls, that say yes to Jesus every single day. Thanks for listening.